What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to part 3 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk AEW End of the Year Awards for 2025 podcast. Of course, we are talking about the Performer Awards in this section. We already did the Technical Skills Awards and the Writer Awards, or the Writing Awards, not the writers themselves. We don't know who they are. We are going to talk about the actual wrestlers themselves. We do know who they are, and the other types of characters that we have going on here, and get into the final set of what we've got for the best and the worst of this year in All Elite Wrestling. So, of course, if you don't know who we are, and if you haven't checked out the previous episodes and everything else like that, Tony Mango here, joined by Rob DeFelice and Callum Wiggins, and you should recognize their voices and mine. And if you're listening to us on the one audio stream and all that, then hey, you certainly should know who we are. You've been listening to us for like 2 hours. So we are rolling along with the awards, the same set that we had the past bunch of different years and all. And of course, we got to start off with one of the side portions of the wrestler performers. Talk about the managers and the valets. So as we go along here and we talk about our best and worst for all these categories, we want to know what you have to say. So drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us what you agree with, what you disagree with, what we're forgetting about, anything along the lines that your picks might be, all that good stuff. So best and the worst managers and valets. Not a lot in AEW to pick from. Maybe the least that they've ever had this year, especially because... did we even count some of these people? I don't remember if they were really necessarily a part of the show. Like, I know that, like Sanjay Dutt is hanging around here and there, but like, was Karen Jarrett actually on the show this year? Did Jake Roberts appear this year?
Roberts, I don't believe did. I think Karen Jarrett did early on in the year with a couple
Karen
of things.
Jarrett was called the slut by MJF.
Did she respond though? I don't remember her actually being on the show.
She was there, I think. In any case, they won't win best or worst because they're just indifferent. I think around the horn best being Don Callis.
That's my pick. Yosoi Don Callis.
I mean, Yosoi Hechicero overall. At least I think so. Maybe Callum like Stokely.
I mean, Stokely's pretty great too. Yeah.
I mean, Stokely's good. I mean, Prince Nana's always great. I mean, he's always been such a big part of the Swerve act. And MVP's always good on the microphone as well. And Mother Wayne is mummy, so
yeah. Mother Wayne is definitely the best looking manager in all of it.
I mean, it's not Stokely. So he wouldn't be able to get on anybody, right? Yeah, I like half of them, but then the other half are just sort of not even there, really, for me. Like Luther, what's he doing?
He came back.
He came back, but he had that one spot, and can't really be like, my God, that was amazing.
I think worse just because he's there all the time, but in a way that I don't understand is Abrahantes. It's just like, hey, we're sending out a luchador. Send Abrahantes.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be my worst one. It's not even the fact that, like, the guy himself, even though the guy, he's quite annoying and he's a bit too over the top, but I feel like it's just why do they need to have like one guy for every single babyface luchador? And why do babyface luchadors even need managers? Why do they even all need a manager? Like, surely they can just... I know they might need a mouthpiece because of the language barrier, but can't he just be, like, an interpreter, or, like, when they have interviews and he can be there to just provide, interpretation skills for both the, like, heel and babyface wrestlers, rather than, coming out with them all the time and just kind of taking... Because they try to just ruin some of the aura of some of them because... they're meant to be a bit mysterious and a bit, and they're cool. They have their own cool aesthetic to them, and then they just have this guy jumping around in a giant loud jacket next to them.
And some people, like Hologram being involved in the conglomeration, could just have, some like Mark Briscoe type or somebody be like, I'm going to speak for him for that kind of thing. Abrahantes, he's serving a purpose in some way, but I pretty much got to give him my worst too, just because the other ones are either not there enough for me to care about, or they contribute in some way. You know, Mother Wayne gets heat, or MVP's doing some great stuff and whatever like that. And Abrahantes, I don't even remember that he exists, and if I do remember that he is on there, then it's not really in any kind of benefit. So it's not like he's like terrible in my mind. It's just a matter of, well, I'm gonna give somebody the worst. It's not gonna be the people that I get like genuine entertainment value out of, you know. Maybe that sounds harsher than I thought it was. I was trying to frame it in a way that sounded a little bit better. It might have come off worse.
No, you said what you said.
Is this our first trifecta of something though for this awards?
It might be, because Callum and I have agreed on some things, but I don't think we've gotten a trifecta.
I think we all agree on like Hangman Page winning the world title being the best Smark Out moment, or did someone disagree with that?
That might have been the last thing that we did, and I might have forgotten
Tony might have added that at the very end, because I know all he did was state like random options he had.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think we'd all agree on like Don Callis being the best and Abrahantes being the worst. But this honorable mention for Jack Jameson, who just seems to bring nothing to the table and yet still gets work.
He brings the party, Callum.
Jackedness.
I will hesitate to say before we agree on that trifecta, Tony, the floor is yours. Would you like to shit on the Rizzler one more time?
Do we count him as a valet? I'll bring him back up again later. Don't worry about it. This is the last time we can talk about the Rizzler. Let's move over to commentators. We have a lot of variety on that front. We got maybe I'm even forgetting some of them, but at least the ones that I could keep track of: Bryan Danielson, Caprice Coleman, Excalibur, Ian Riccaboni. One of my favorite things to say as far as like Yuka Sakazaki and Ian Riccaboni. And I forget what the other one was. Juji Katami. It's always fun to say. We got JR, Matt Menard, Nigel McGuinness, Taz, Tony Schiavone, some other people sprinkled in there, here and there. And then, you know, other people that I'm probably forgetting. I gotta say, best Excalibur. He holds down the fort every single episode, runs down babyface stuff, great, runs down play-by-play stuff, great. Has that whole, at the end of the show, he's got to do the speed talking of everything that's been announced, and he pulls that off all the time. He's always got energy instead of like Jim Ross, where he basically pops up once in a while, and when he does, it's sort of, I like this guy, and you're like, oh man, JR. But I'm not going to give JR the worst though. I've been doing that the past bunch of years. I'm going to give it to Caprice Coleman. Every time I listen to a Ring of Honor show, I hear him say somebody's name wrong, where it's like, you should know the AEW guys and girls better than this. And I forget who it was that he had pronounced wrong this last time. Takeshita was one of them. Yeah, he got both Konosuke and Takeshita wrong. And he had said like a few other things, and I thought that I had kept track of it, but I guess I didn't write it down because I thought I would have put it in this section here, where I was just kind of like, man, this is exactly why I don't want to listen to Caprice. Like, he could be a cool dude or whatever, but I don't get anything out of the commentary for him. Riccaboni, he's solid, and I like Excalibur better than Riccaboni, but Coleman, I just feel like they could probably find somebody who's better than him. I don't know.
I'll go next. Coleman is definitely a strong contender for my worst, just because it's blah. Like, I don't hate him. It's just blah. You know, I love Riccaboni. I would say he's at least third place in my best, because I think he's fantastic, and they need to get him. They need to find a way to convince him to just like be the voice of AEW, be that like what Michael Cole is to WWE. Get him to be that for AEW. I know he loves Ring of Honor and wants to do ROH till he dies, but like, I think he'd be so much better to be transitioned into that role. Excalibur's great, but my best, and by a long shot, is Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson fucking rules on commentary. He brings a level of importance to these matches by the way that he speaks about them. And I think it's really helped anything he's on the mic for. Shout out to Moxley, too, for the work that he did during Ring of Honor Final Battle. That was tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of my best options, there's a lot of the obvious ones there. I think Rick Bonnie's does a great job. Excalibur holds down the fort fantastically well. Big fan of what Bryan Danielson's bringing to the commentary table. And Don Callis is a great commentator when he's on commentary as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Really, I forgot about throwing him in there.
He's always been a great commentator. I remember listening to him when he was like the main heel commentator of New Japan. Obviously, he doesn't do it all the time now because he's doing the management stuff as well. But he does hop on commentary pretty often for his guys' matches, and he puts over the guys that they're wrestling pretty well as well, even if he in storyline character hates them. But my best is Nigel. Nigel's always been super solid, and obviously now he's wrestling as well, and so he's getting a bit more involved in the actual story and getting heated with guys like FTR as well. But he's just so much fun to listen to. He has great chemistry with people, and yeah, I just really enjoy everything that he brings to the table. Worst, I don't really mind too many of the Ring of any of the Ring of Honor or AEW commentators for the most part. I thought about giving it to Jericho because Jericho did do commentary at certain points this year, and Jericho's never been his strong suit.
He was good one time, and they overdid it. Yeah.
But worse than this, pitchforks out. It's Tony Schiavone.
I knew you were going with Schiavone.
I got a feeling you were going to go with Schiavone.
He's just he's so he's basically what everyone thinks is wrong with JR. It's actually Schiavone. He is very rambly. He stumbles over his words. He forgets people's names. He forgets moves. And it's just become more... it wasn't as bad for... Because there's always been a charm with Schiavone. And I totally think that he should still be a big part of AEW. He should still be doing, the... interviews in the ring, or he could be doing more, backstage promos and stuff, or doing more stuff behind the scenes, and the, sit down camera interview, stuff along those lines. But I just think that commentary's a bit too fast paced for him to try and keep up with that now. I think he should be slowly phased out of that point now. I mean, he's nearly 70 at this point. So it's he's done a fantastic job throughout his entire career for it, but eventually anything catches up to you, and I think it's time to bring in the next generation of people to look after that for him.
I don't agree, but I definitely have seen a shift in Schiavone. I do think he is getting closer and closer to that. Like Callum said, what people think when they think of JR, I have seen Schiavone inch closer to that. I'm just not. I'm not there with him yet where I'm okay, get him off headset. Matt Menard also in terms of worst, just because not everybody needs to transition to a commentary role. It's kind of like Big Show. They had Big Show doing it for a bit and he just wasn't good. Matt Menard is a lot of fun in some ways, but I don't think I need him on headsets.
I don't remember too much of Taz this year that I could call out as super fun or whatever, because he did spend portions where he was just off. But Taz is always the guy that I find fun too. He's the Booker T of the group, and when we get into the commentators for WWE,
most people hate Booker T. He's just
Booker T sucks. He's terrible. He's
we're just the two dumbasses that are I don't know. He's just saying words, and it makes me laugh.
That's exactly it. You're never gonna hear me go, "Hey, Taz and Booker T are the best commentators," but they are the most fun commentators in a lot of ways. Because, last night, for anyone who's curious, we're recording this on the 17th. I don't know when I'm publishing it. Last night on NXT, Booker just went out of his way to start singing Joe Hendry's theme, but all he was saying was "I believe in Joe Hendry" over and over, and then he started to laugh and said, "I don't know the lyrics."
Yeah, it's like, well, much like Taz, I think they've gotten to a certain age where they're just like, I'm collecting a paycheck. You could fuck off. Like,
Yeah. That's always one of my more favorite portions of Botchamania too, is the insipid Taz commentary section. Shout out to him. But yeah, to me, the voice of AEW is Excalibur, and I used to give Tony Schiavone one of those, like, it's him in the mix, if not better than Excalibur, but I think that it's gotten to a point where Excalibur has surpassed him, and I already gave Tony Schiavone a big shout out for something else before with the whole swap with Adam Page, so there's a positive. Let's go to the newcomers of the year, and best and worst newcomer is really hard to track in AEW in particular because they don't announce their like new signings for everybody, and WWE doesn't do it either for everybody, but WWE typically at least keeps up with main roster talent better than AEW does. AEW is sort of every so often somebody will get that graphic of, hey, so and so is all elite. And then even when that happens, sometimes we still don't see them for a while, if not, for an entire year or something. And then you bring people in for ROH, and you bring people in outside the company, and you basically have like a deal for them to work, but they're not on the roster. You got people on the roster page that I don't remember when they last wrestled, like Pretty Peter Avalon. Could not tell you when he was on TV last. And Nick Camarado, and you got people like, I know, like Angelico and some others are like, popping up in ROH and stuff more so that's why I'm a little bit not tapped in exactly for where they are right now. But like, when was Brandon Cutler last wrestling? He's got to be still in the company. And Chuck Taylor's still listed on the roster, but he's not wrestling anymore. So it's a little hard to track who the official newcomers are and who has been around and they're just officially signed now, whatever. Keep that in mind as far as I don't really have an option for worst, because the ones I could track were all pretty good, if not pretty great. Like, my best options I had kept track of are both members of Jet Speed, Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey, Tekla, and Josh Alexander. Are all like, I couldn't possibly give any of them the worst. There's nothing for me to complain about with them. They're varying parts of good to great. And then there's, I don't know, like Viva Van is on ROH, I guess. I don't think I've ever seen her this year. And that's because I don't watch ROH, but she technically was signed. I am not as big of a fan of Alex Windsor as everybody else seems to be.
Windsor. Say it right, damn it.
That's actually one of my least favorite catchphrases of the year.
Go to hell. You hate having fun.
Lacey Lane hasn't really gotten started, so I can't really be like, oh, she's the worst for what? Having one match, and that's kind of shitty if I were to do that. So I don't know if there is a worst, really. I can't even blame El Clone, because it's not like that's his fault that Hologram got injured.
Well, yeah, it is. He hacked into him.
Is this like some Tron thing?
Wasn't that the game?
He's a user.
This was quite a difficult one because, as you say, I don't think there's realistically been any real bad newcomers beyond people that just haven't wrestled a lot, like El Clon and Viva Van, and I know they've signed like obviously Lacey Lane. I think they signed Lena Cross recently, and she hasn't debuted yet, so you can't really just go after those people. I'd say like worst, just for underwhelming, just based on what I was hoping for. I'm gonna go with the Grizzled Young Vets, because I know they first turned up like last year, realistically, in that on a like UK show, but they've appeared and they kind of they're sporadic in and out, but I just haven't really been impressed with their output. in terms of wrestling. Like the only other person I could potentially even put there is just Ace Austin, and that's only because he hasn't wrestled a lot yet, and they've just paired him up randomly with the Bullet Club Gold guys, like the Bang Bang Gang. So, but I'd just go with the Grizzled Young Vets because I just don't think that I was expecting more. Well, even more consistent appearances or just better quality of work when they do make appearances.
I'm a little surprised that they didn't get officially signed and brought on as like a regular tag team, but they seem to only be doing stuff when they're outside of
signed. They're signed.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think they're on like one of the more higher tier contract things, like the more like big part of the roster ones. I think they're on like one of those tiered sort of deals that they have with certain people. But I think it's probably down to them in a way. I think that they do want to continue doing stuff on the independent circuit. They've been doing a lot on other shows throughout the year and doing stuff in the UK as well. So yeah, maybe it's one of those ones where just because they don't want to be fully tied down to a big company anymore after their WWE experience, maybe they're just you're not going to get like the full run of things with them in AEW because they just don't want to be at that level anymore.
You just said that, and my thought went to, do we say that the worst is Nixon Newell?
I mean, I don't think that we can counter as like a full-on newcomer, but if you, yeah, it's our fucking rules. Why not?
I mean, she was new to AEW this year.
She was a newcomer. Yeah, I mean,
and it's pretty. Yeah, I mean, she should get some sort of like dishonorable mention on this podcast for AEW this year.
I'm mostly kidding.
Fair enough. I think that if we have like no real like, hey, this person got signed and they really suck, I think that makes perfect sense to throw her in at this spot and just be like, look, you had a really unfortunate run in WWE where things could have gone much better for sure. And then I have no idea how you thought that the way to, counterbalance that would be to go to the second company and completely burn that bridge.
Yeah. My other answer would be Ned Fulman of the Try Guys. Because
that one's even more of a stretch, but that's again, that sucks.
Hey, I don't know if you saw the match, but I did. All right, the whole thing was just strange.
Hey, don't you want to cheer for a guy that cheated on his wife?
Wait, he was a part of something in AEW this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, they dressed in the Ring of Honor. Yeah.
He was at my show.
Really? He tried to wrestle?
He would say tried to wrestle. Well, I guess try is probably the opposite. He's a try guy. This week we try wrestling.
He tried he succeeded. He teamed with.
Oh, let's not go that far.
The SAT, not the SATs.
Spanish Announce Project.
Yeah.
PSATs
Project. And I believe they beat the frat house.
Wow, that is not a story I was anticipating to hear about. I didn't know that. That's okay.
Yeah.
I like Keith. Keith is cool.
It basically went over. It basically discourse for a couple of days and then just went under the radar again because at the end of the day it was just one match on Ring of Honor that only like a few thousand people probably watched. So
yeah,
that's wild. Yeah, let's give that guy then.
But let's go to Best. I mean, Best, maybe we could argue that we can get Maya World and Hiana into this as well because of them stepping up in Nixon Newell's absence.
Yeah, they've been great.
Yeah, but in terms of actual like other newcomers, I mean, you've got your sport for choice with Alex Windsor. I think it's been great. Got Hedgesero, technically a newcomer. This is the year that he signed with AEW. So
why not?
Yeah, wrestled for them beforehand. And same with Mina Shirakawa, even though she appeared beforehand, this is the year that she signed with the company. She got the all elite graphic. I believe Megan Bain got her all elite graphic this year as well.
Which is wild. I swear to God, she's been signed since day one.
Yeah, no, she's been signed.
Felt like it at least, yeah.
I think I'll go with even though I'm a big fan of Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey. I think they've both got huge upside, and Tekla's great as well. But I think I'll go with Megan Bain. I just think there's there is something about her that I feel like she could be world champion for a long time when they decide to push her properly.
I think she might be the person that needs to beat Statlander.
She should have been. I will still hold to this. She was the person that should have beaten Toni Storm. When had that, you could have done the big Brock treatment with her, and they decided against it on that occasion. But I think eventually they will. She rarely gets pinned. She gets a lot of wins both in singles and tag action. I think it won't be long before she's holding gold. I think she'll probably be. She's my choice to win with Penelope to win the tag titles once Penelope's back in action, and be kind of like the first long reign as the women's tag champions.
So, Jet Speed's great. Tekla's maybe my pick. It depends on if I can give this award to Tommy Billington or not. I'm forgetting if this was his first year, but
I mean, because it's one of the things he's definitely wrestled before for AEW because he had those matches with Dax Harwood in 2024. I think he wrestled on the second All In show on the pre-show, and but it's I don't know whether he's actually signed and whether him and Adam Priest are both signed right now.
I mean, if they are, my pick would be Billington because he's fun to watch. He's just a joy for me and a throwback for me. But aside from that, I'm going to say Tekla. She burst onto the scene, and I wasn't super familiar with a lot of her work because I don't get to watch as much Stardom as I want to. But she's so cool. And I think in a world where wrestlers aren't as cool as they could be, she's very cool. So she'll get my pick.
She's also a major boost for the women's division because she is somebody who quickly came along and was instantly able to hang with a lot of other people instead of it being we got somebody here, but they're gonna middle through and kind of need to learn the process or anything. Pretty fast, Tekla was I could see them giving her the TBS title or whatever might be. I still think that she might win a belt in 2026 too. So shout out to her. Let's go to best and worst tag team or stable. It could be a trio. It could be a faction as big as Don Callis family where you lose track of who all the people are. Technically speaking, it could be somebody and their manager, although there aren't really any cases of that I think would apply here necessarily. And now keep in mind too that this is teams from ROH. This is teams from AEW, teams that stopped existing this year and teams that were just formed at the beginning of this year and all that, or throughout, maybe it was just brand new right now. So there are, of course, as always, more teams that I can keep track of because they have people that are in multiple teams and there are people that they're a part of a team, but they're not there. Technically speaking, you can throw in that Wardlow is part of the Don Callis family. Well, technically he is. He was there for one segment. So that's hard to keep track of too. And then it's just, ROH is something that's, disappearing from me. So there are probably so many cases of ROH people that if I was watching this show, I would put them in here. I don't think I would give any of them the negative worst just from the little bits that I have seen of them. I'm not a big fan of Shane Taylor Promotions, but they seem fine. It's not like I'm going to be oh, they suck. Why? When I've got other people I could pick. And that is kind of a little bit all over the place for me. I've got a lot of options that I had written down, and I'm not sure exactly which one I'm going to go with. One of the big ones that I had written down is the Iron Savages. Because remember that
was
group,
that
was Boulder and Bronson and Jack Jameson. So Jameson, not in that mix anymore, go over at the frat house. And then you got
none of them in that mix anymore.
Boulder, who gets fired and all the awful shit that goes along with that. or was it Bronson? I forget which one's which.
It was Boulder because Bronson's still doing his thing.
Yeah, Tommy gets fired, and then the other guy is, he's off doing his thing in TNA now. It seems so.
And he's one of the he's doing what people thought Killer Cross was going to do on the Indies. He's making a name for himself on the Indies.
Good for him. You got, I guess technically it might have been a case this year. Lee Johnson and EJ Nduka.
Lee J. I was like, what the
Lee
fuck?
J?
What
Lee?
the fuck is Liege?
Rated FTR was this year. The Righteous were technically in AEW/ROH this year. I don't know if you want to count the people that got immediately met with "Who are you?" chants in TNA.
That's insane, by the way. Like, come on, dude. Like, I'm not saying the TNA fan base needs to be on the up and up, and I'm not about to sit here and say Righteous is huge, but like,
they probably know. If you're watching TNA, you're probably watching AEW, and like, yeah,
you're watching TNA and you don't know the Righteous. Come on, bro. Like,
if I know the Righteous and I don't watch Ring of Honor, where if somebody said who's the Righteous, I'd be like, oh, it's Dutch and Vincent. Then the TNA crowd knows who they are. There are a lot of different picks. I mean, you can throw in a Spanish announced project team, or you can put somebody out there like a Private Party. You can say they just disappeared.
You're taking the long route. Callum, are we not just going with Frat House here for the worst?
It's definitely a high up option. Not my worst, but it's a good choice.
Not on my worst. Because they're just a bunch of jobbers. They come out, they lose. They're fine.
Yeah, they take up like an annoying amount of time, like more time than they did. The same way that the Iron Savages did. Really, they're basically the replacement of the Iron Savages in that regard. But I don't know.
Who the fuck is Griff Garrison though? You got other teams though, like the Acclaimed.
See, that's the choice.
They're not a team.
Yes,
they are. Can they coexist?
Yeah,
they're not a team.
All they're doing is teaming now. That's the only time they get on TV is if they team up together. So, like, they are basically a tag team. I mean, you have other choice. I mean, the Learning Tree still existed at the start of this year.
It's true, Learning Tree. That's
a potential pick for me. The Learning Tree was basically nothing this year, other than Jericho being, the ROH champion and then being underlings, and then Jericho saying, "I'm gonna leave now, and I'll see you later, maybe."
And then he left, and then he left,
and then they stopped bothering with them, and it was like, well, those are the guys that you should be doing something with. But now that Jericho, the guy that people didn't like as much, is gone, you don't want to push the two that people do like. It's a little weird. LFI didn't have a great year.
Yeah.
Bang Bang Gang didn't have a great year.
Yeah, that's just
not a lot of injuries. Yeah, unfortunate for them.
This wasn't a banner year for the Dark Order.
Ever since, like, say every year from 2021.
2021 was the last time they had a banner year, pal.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Skyflight group as well. They're just so boring.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, it's just a group of people that quite ironically that they haven't taken off. It's more like everything's kind of passed them by, and they're just trying to revive them again and saying, okay, let's try and do this again.
I get why they paired them off, but it's just sort of one of those teams where it's supposed to be like the sky's the limit, and it's like, no, it's not.
No, like, Collision semi-main event is the limit, I think.
Good lord.
Losing a match against another team after doing a bunch of flips, and people go, hey, look at that. That's what they're there for.
But yeah, I think my choice would be the Acclaimed, because I hate that storyline and hate the fact that they just won't let this go, and we need to stop and reevaluate what these two guys bring to the table.
Yeah, mine is the frat house, just because they're annoying, and it's. I say this a lot with AEW ROH, but like people don't want to see this in this company. They don't. It's a very WWE style thing, and they're not pushing anybody. Like Cole Carter's in that. Griff Garrison is in that. Like nobody's getting any boost out of this, so it's the frat house for me.
I think I would probably pick somebody like the Bang Bang Gang or the Learning Tree. If not just because like they were around, yet I can't tell you anything good that they did. And Bang Bang Gang, unfortunately, that's an injury that gets into the mix that throws them off too, because if it's one half of the Guns, then you've got one of the Guns, Austin, and Juice Robinson, and the leader's not there. They're just like, they didn't have much to work with, but even when they did, and they're like fighting for the tag team titles today. And of course, I'm writing out all the stuff, and it's like, well, there's no chance that they're going to win, because they're just a weak team for FTR to beat, even. And when it comes to something like the Learning Tree, we already just talked about that. So not a great year for some of those teams, but then we have a lot of options for the best. I think you could go with all sorts of different names here. I could see a case for Brodito being made. Of course, Death Riders and Don Callis family leading the charge as far as like being heel stables and championships and everything. Hurt Syndicate, lots of people loving that group. Jet Speed's a lot of fun. The Ops were very successful this year. Now they're one of the top heel groups. A lot of people love the Outrunners. I wouldn't go with them as best, but somebody out there, gotta pick them. The women's tag team division exists now, so Timeless Love Bombs might be your thing. Maybe it's Babes of Wrath.
So I think that, as you picked out pretty much a lot of the best ones, like from FTR, just holding down the fort as they always do. Young Bucks just have great matches every single year, and they do great stuff, regardless of what their kind of character work is. You can kind of question that, but they do great stuff. I like, even though I'm not so fan of like the in-ring work, I'm a big fan of the vibe of Triangle of Madness. I like the aesthetic. I like the entrance. All this stuff around it just needs to get better on the in-ring side, but they have plenty of time. Don Callis family is obviously a great group. I love some conglomerating. Like the greatest stable in the history of AEW. But I think I've just got to go with Brodito. As good as like people like Death Riders and the Ops have been, I think just the fact that it just came out of nowhere, this team coming together and just being so dynamic, exciting, having this fairy tale tag team title run for, even though it only lasted like 3 or 4 months, it just felt like these were the moment for these two guys to really step up and have a nice run after, like, Brody King's been with the company for so long and has had some issues in terms of the fact that, like, obviously Malachi left and Buddy Matthews has been out injured for so long. So it's a case of he was kind of left out there to just occasionally come in and have some matches, but never really had any direction. And Bandito, after all his injury struggles, won the Ring of Honor title, but then also won the tag titles, and he's felt like a fixture in the company now. So yeah, I think both those guys deserve recognition for the stuff they did this year.
Yeah, mine is Edge and Christian now. I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet and say I'm giving this to the Young Bucks. They're still putting on great matches. In fact, I think this year they put on some of the best matches that they have in a bit. We don't know how long they'll be operating at this level, and I want to give them their flowers now. They're definitely the best tag team of the generation, and again, I'm gonna push this point like I do with a lot of things every year. We don't know how long we've got with them, so I want to appreciate them now.
I had forgotten to mention another one of the candidates for worst. Heat.
What?
Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, Satnam Singh, Karen Jarrett, and Sanjay Dutt.
They're called.
They didn't do anything. Yeah, they are called Heat.
Hold on. That's news to me. Okay.
Well, they couldn't get sign off on the Team TNA name, so
they couldn't sign off on Total Nonstop Assholes.
No, they went with Heat.
They didn't do anything this year anyway, so
yeah. But
Jay Lethal's been so like.
I mean, his storyline on Ring of Honor right now is he's like kind of watching what Blake Christian's doing.
He's been paired annoyingly for me with Adam Priest and Billington, and Blake Christian and Lee Johnson are like, huh? Don't you want to be with us? Huh? Want to get a little swirl action? Huh? You know, but he really blended into the furniture. Jeff Jarrett did nothing this year, and Satnam Singh, the most I saw of him was a squash match at the show I went to, so I didn't even think they existed.
Yeah, he's big. You know who else is?
Bubba Tunde.
Let's go best and the worst heel of the year. And of course, AEW has a little bit more of a shade of gray for characters than WWE even does, although WWE has plenty of their times where they don't even fucking know which character is what. And then I get bombarded like crazy on the heel and face turn list. God forbid I ever did one of those for AEW. I would never friggin' sleep because it would end up just being a constant stream of emails of, you know, the Young Bucks shook somebody's hand. Is that heel turn? It's like, I had a couple written down for worst and about like 6 written down for best, and I feel like throughout this discussion, I'm probably gonna be like, yeah, you should probably add that person down to that too, just for the sake of what went down with like. As bland as Chris Jericho's exit seems to have been, and how people are like, yeah, I'm okay with him moving on and stuff. Jericho is one of the options for me for worst. If you're looking for a weak link in the Don Callis family, I think that you're looking at either Mark Davis or Rocky Romero. Really sucks for Wardlow to just be like, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm hurt. Got defeated the purpose. But then you got the teams like we were just talking about, like, you know, you can throw in Frat House, you can throw in I guess you can't technically throw in some of them that we were talking about because some of them are babyface teams, like Bang Bang Gang was mostly babyface or whatever, but I don't know. Maybe Jericho, maybe Davis for me.
I mean, I'd say the weak link for the Don Callis family, just from both a heel and character perspective, is Trent Beretta. I just think that unlike, maybe similar to those, but unlike Rocky Romero, he doesn't have any character to add to the fact that he's pretty bland overall in general, and has been in and out with injuries as well. He just feels like, okay, if you have to have a whipping boy of the group, it probably should be Trent. Jericho's definitely an option. I sometimes, when I look at the heel one, I sometimes say, oh, this is a team that should be heel, but like are treated like baby faces, and so that immediately brings the Hurt Syndicate to mind. It's like, okay, you're supposed to be heels. I know there is the shade of grey stuff, but for the most part of their tag title run, they were supposed to be on the heel side of things, but they were treated a lot like baby faces because they have a catchy theme music and they just have that, you know, people like to watch people just kicking ass, and that's basically what the Hurt Syndicate are bought to do. You obviously have to mention Aaron Solo here.
Yeah, he's the perennial, you know.
just why kind of person in the company. His name, Soraya, was with the company at the start of this year.
Oh, she still was. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't sing any praises there.
Yeah. I think it's between Trent Beretta and Hook, I think, for me. Because I'm just like done with Hook in general. But I probably will go Beretta because Hook at least can have good matches, does have something about him, even though I think that it's quickly dwindling. I just think that Trent Beretta, ever since the separation from Chuck Taylor, pretty much like the month after that story ended, has just been a whole lot of nothing for him.
Yeah, when I think of worst heel, I think of almost like Callum was describing the Hurt Syndicate, where it's like you're supposed to be the villain and you're not even trying to get booed because you're just, yeah, we get cheered, woohoo. So that's typically what comes to mind for me. I want to give Jericho worst something, but I think he might end up just getting the worst overall superstar. So I'll say worst heel. I won't just say the Hurt Syndicate, just because I like Benjamin. I'm gonna just pick on Bobby Lashley here. I don't get it. I don't get it with Lashley. He's fun in bursts, but he hasn't lost a fucking match. And I'm gonna keep beating that drum because he's been there a while. And he has not gotten pinned or been made to submit. So for me, it's Lashley. He's not getting treated like a heel when he should be, and I just haven't been a fan of it at all.
Lashley.
Look, that would be a more fun to me than what he's doing. And Leo Rush is there. He should be running out going, Lashley.
The last time Leo Rush did something, for that matter.
Oh, they're always wrestling.
Are they on
Action Andretti? Yeah, they're always doing something, whether it's Collision or Ring of Honor. I see them a lot.
The two shows that I don't watch, that makes sense then. I probably, like I said, if I watched Ring of Honor, I probably would throw in like somebody like an Angelico in here, or I probably wouldn't be a big fan of a lot of the different characters there, like the Workhorsemen. Taven and Bennett seem like they're just kind of, just there to eat a paycheck and be a body. But maybe I'm missing out on something great. Like, they don't come across for people that should have been a big deal. They sure disappeared, didn't they? Yeah.
Damn.
Hey, what's the best thing that they have done, and when was that? Know what I mean?
That's besides the point.
Some of the best options that I got down for best heels, Jon Moxley, of course. We got to talk about the guy that was leading the charge for the heel division this year and AEW World Champion. He's been gone for a while, but Nick Wayne, hell of a heel. Ricochet, I think, is a solid option for this. Okada is fun. Fletcher is another one. But I gotta go just in general, Don Callis. I'm gonna give him this again because he's the linchpin of the Callis family. Hence the name.
More importantly, I think Don Callis is a guy that people actually get annoyed by his presence. And again, when it comes to best heel, I'm looking for somebody who actually gets treated like a heel from the audience. Moxley, again, first chunk of the year, really had this locked up where people were sick to death of the Death Riders and just wanted to see Moxley lose. But I think because of the quality of his matches, that always kind of turns around. So I'm also going to go Don Callis because people hate him.
So, yeah, I mean, Don Callis is a big choice for this one. FTR were great when they did their heel turn earlier this year. Ricochet, stabbed people with scissors. Okada's always great. Pac, Marine Shafir, John Moxley, pretty much all the Death Riders, but those three in particular. And Mercedes, just because she's one of the best wrestlers, and ergo she's a heel, so ipso facto, she's one of the best heels in that regard. But I think it's definitively Kyle Fletcher for me. Guy just gets what it is to be a heel wrestler. And he's learned the lesson that everyone always wished that Randy Orton would have learned. you can be a hateable heel and have absolute banger matches at the same time. Like he'll do all the crazy fancy stuff that people say, oh my god, that was just such an incredible match. But then like he's make sure that he's the bad guy throughout all of it, and he'll slow down when he needs to. He'll get the crowd on the side of the baby face. He'll do all of the like little bits and pieces that he needs to do to make sure that people aren't just cheering him for the cool stuff he's doing. And yeah, I think that he just absolutely gets what being a heel in the modern era of wrestling is all about.
I agree with that. I think to a certain extent, the match quality will eventually just get somebody over, but I do agree with what you're saying.
He'll turn babyface eventually, but right now he's got the right balance.
Fletcher does strike me as the type of guy that when they do eventually, if they pull this off well enough, of course, pull the trigger and have him turn babyface, they could end up making him a big babyface. But he could also crash and burn and just be like, that guy is instinctively somebody that should be a heel. And it's just like, you're never going to know until you try, you know? Some people, they could pull off both, and some people, you're kind of stuck. Like, I love The Miz. Miz is not a good babyface.
Yeah.
And like, there's probably, I've never met the guy, but like somebody like The Miz in real life, probably somebody I would get along with. You know? Especially compared to some other people.
A nice guy, but he comes across like a dick.
But it's just inherently, you know, I mean, when Jack Nicholson is in a movie, I'm assuming he's an asshole. I don't remember many Jack Nicholson movies where he's the good guy. And if he is, he's an asshole and a good guy, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or something. Like, the character's insane. He's never just like the fun uncle or like the kindly neighbor, you know? And Kyle Fletcher has the option of being like a potentially really good babyface, but I could also see it being like, nah, I still want to punch that guy in the face. You know?
That's so funny.
Yeah. I think I'm probably still going to stick with my Don Callis pick for best heel. Yeah, some good options to pick from there. And then, of course, we got to go on the opposite side of things. Best and worst babyface of the year. And I had written 2 down for the worst. Again, maybe you guys will jog my memory of somebody that I should also crap on. But the 2 that I had written down were Jeff Jarrett for just being in a position that I don't know if I've ever really seen before, where somebody comes out and says, I'm a legend and I've done all these things and I think I'm going to be retiring soon and maybe I'll have one more run. And then collectively people went, yeah, I'm not interested in it though, and I don't really want to support you. And that sucks coming from a guy that back in the old school Double J Jeff Jarrett new generation era, I loved Jeff Jarrett. I thought that he was a fantastic performer. I did not follow the WCW side of his career as much since I was always a WWF guy more. And, you know, I started to get out of it by the time that WCW was ending. So that was like a big portion that I missed. And I didn't watch TNA all that much. So the hatred that Jeff Jarrett gets, I don't subscribe to in the same way. Same as how I don't have flashbacks of the Reign of Terror from Triple H in the same way that other people have. But I can totally see this being like, yeah, out of the babyface options, it's a pretty bad track record to go for this year. And another person just to call out somebody that I just don't find on like the entertaining spectrum in the same way. I don't get the urge to ever be like, I should cheer for Dalton Castle. Like, if anything, I feel like that guy should be a heel.
Tony hates fun. Pass it on.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
No, no. Yeah, Jeff Jarrett is a really good option here, just because. Then this comes from, I think I said this when we recorded one of the other sections. I'm probably the biggest Jeff Jarrett fan of the 3 of us. The people like roundly rejected this idea, and I feel bad for him for that. You know, like I said, I don't think he needed to like challenge for the world title, but he could have had a nice ending. So I think I will go with him for worst babyface. I mean, arguably, Hangman Adam Page is the worst babyface. The man burned down somebody's house, and people are just like, "Yeah, yay, we love you. Do it again. Play with more fire." So there's an argument to be made there, but I'll go Double J.
I mean, you can make the main argument with Swerve. Swerve's a babyface that broke into the guy's house and threatened his kid. So.
Oh, I'd like to make the argument with Darby Allin as well. I was in the building when he nearly threw a Molotov cocktail. I mean, like, these are not good people. What are we doing here?
Worst ones, I think you've got like choices just for like blandness, like both Hook and Daniel Garcia when they were both on the babyface side of things, were just like not really doing anything from a charisma level. Obviously, you mentioned Jeff Jarrett. You talk about a guy, say like Carl Fletcher, you see him turning babyface and like it not working out. I raise you Sammy Guevara. Who they constantly try and make a baby face, and it never. He's got too much of a punchable face.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot ever be a baby face. It just doesn't work.
I didn't realize you talked to Andrade about this.
Yeah, I guess Sammy's the one person that's happy that deal didn't go through. But I think
he's a really good option for that because like I enjoy Sammy Guevara in the ring, but I can't deny that guy cannot get over as a babyface, despite doing moves that you would think a babyface should get cheered for and do the usual thing that happens with that. It's just people see it and they go, yeah, but fuck him. He's just got to be stuck like that forever.
I think you'll be like the runner-up for this one, but I think I have to go with Anthony Bowens. Just how much that was rejected. Pretty much, like, almost from the first match onwards, just how dead on arrival this gimmick change was. Like, and it's not, as I say, there's a lot of ways you can take it. I think that going with like, the pride of professional wrestling could be a good slogan and moniker attached to him because of, obviously, his background and his orientation and all this other stuff. But just from the get-go, it always just seems so bland and so forced and so unnatural, almost. Like him immediately coming out and doing one of those Max Caster challenges. And then from there on, just really... And you can blame the booking a lot for this as well. It's not entirely on the guy, but obviously the babyface thing comes from a mixture of the guy and the booking around him. And I just think that it was an absolute failure with Bowens to the point where they've now had to revert to him being like a petty... petulant heel guy instead.
And then the options on the best side of things, though. Thankfully, I got actually way more options under the best. So stop me if it's your pick. Or I guess we could probably just, talk about some positives here and there.
Yeah.
I got them in alphabetical order, so I might as well just read some in alphabetical order. Adam Page. I mean, come on.
What, really? I don't know about that one, guy.
I just said he's a candidate for the worst. He burned a house down. No, he's probably 90% of people's picks for that.
The guy did the whole big, I conquered the major heel in the biggest show of the year thing and got forced to turn babyface because everybody was cheering for me anyway. Bandito.
That's true. He started the year as a heel, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He was a heel even basically going into the finals of the Owen Hart tournament.
You know what? I'd like to rectify my worst heel. Might be Hangman Adam Page, because that they just didn't want to boom.
What a piece of shit villain to not be a piece of shit. But it's
quite amazing that he. It's quite amazing that he went like less than a year from burning a guy's house down and sticking a syringe into Swerve's cheek to like being the top babyface, winning the team with him, being the world champion, top babyface, most beloved guy in the whole company. Quite a turnaround in less than a year.
And it seems like they're in their promo for this whole thing that they say that they have a mutual respect for each other and a mutual hatred for Samoa Joe. So. You burned down my childhood house. You did all these like terrible things to each other, but I respect you.
I respect you, man, who broke into my home and
Yeah.
harassed my infant son. I respect you.
That's basically the equivalent of saying, you know what? If the shoe was on the other foot, I'd do the same to your kid in your house.
So funny.
So I mean, he's in the mix there. Bandito, I think, is a really good pick in a lot of ways. The guy did this whole, the great championship wins and the matches that he's had, but also standing up for his, fucking family, his mom and his grandmother and his brother, and the unmasking stuff and taking out a big heel like Jericho and all that. So like Bandito scored a lot of points.
Yeah, that's right. Two angles messed with his family this year. Jeez. That's a good guy, that Bandito.
Third time's the charm. Which heel's got to take him out?
Don Callis, obviously.
Maybe. Darby Allin, I think, is worth talking about.
Definitely.
Man never dies.
I really felt like he was the one to beat Moxley, but he didn't reach the heights as a babyface I thought he was going to this year.
Yeah,
he reached Everest.
I was going to say he did climb Everest.
I think I would give Allin the win if he would have been the guy that beat Moxley, like we were talking about, but he didn't. And I think he's kind of fizzled out since then in a lot of ways, where it's like, when are you going to end this feud, and how are you going to end it in a way that's going to feel like it's grandiose as opposed to it just sort of stops? But yeah, for a good portion of this year, and he still is one of the top baby faces. I always lump them together, but Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe to me are like cut of the same cloth of like, it's hard to dislike these guys, and they have that kind of rugged every man kind of charm to them. I'd go, Briscoe more so over Kingston as far as like how I value the best babyface.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for this year, because like I say, in kind of like saying that Carl Fletcher was the best heel of the year, it's almost like, well, surely the best babyface is the guy that feuded with him the most and had some of the best matches with him, and that was Mark Briscoe. So I don't know. I don't think I'll go with Mark Briscoe, but it's like he's definitely just like pretty much unhateable at this point in his career.
I will always sing the praises of Orange Cassidy. I can't pick him this year, but he's always one of my favorites. Oh, I skipped over Harley Cameron. I think is one of the best baby faces of the year for sure.
Yeah, she has the underdog characteristic, which everyone will get behind.
You got Swerve. You could be talking about him. A lot of people, I'm sure, would pick Timeless Tony Storm. Willow Nightingale. You got Will Ospreay. Any other ones that stand out to you guys?
Out of the other ones, you've pretty much listed pretty much all the ones I had down, except for Statlander, I'd say would also be one of the choices.
That. She's not my pick, but you did skip over her. My pick is...
She didn't strike me as one of the best baby faces for this year because she spent a good portion of it just bitching and complaining and feuding with Willow.
My pick is Willow Nightingale. She's a perfect baby face. She's just a lovable human being. I think she's one that should never, ever, ever turn heel. I think that would be a huge mistake. I think she should be a forever baby face. She will eventually win the world title. It will eventually be a big moment. But look, Hangman Page is great, but he was a heel this year. Will Ospreay is amazing, and he wants to be the heart and soul of AEW so badly. But even AEW admitted that it was Hangman Page over him. I'm gonna go Willow because she's an actual babyface.
I mean, yeah, Willow is probably the best pure babyface in the entire promotion, just from like not having any sort of negative bone in their body. They even did like the storyline years ago with Julia Hart's Miss turning everyone evil, and she's the only one that can withstand that turn. So, like, but I think I'm gonna go with the obvious one, which is Hangman. He was beat the big bad, was like the biggest star. Everyone was right behind him. I don't think there was a single amount of groundswell of support for anybody more than there was at Hangman Page going into All In this year. So yeah, I'd have to go with him.
I think that's where the dynamic splits between me, because it's like both of them are basically at the top for me, because it's like, do you go with the guy that gets forced into the babyface spot and wins the main world title in the biggest show of the year against the biggest heel? Or do you go with, like you were just saying, Rob and Callum, too, about Willow, where it's like there's unwavering babyface, ball of positivity, great performer, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, part of me wants to go like, all right, best babyface in the men's division is Adam Page, best babyface in the women's division is Willow. You know what I mean? And then that's where we kind of split the difference between the last three categories. So best male wrestler, best female wrestler, and eventually, best overall wrestler of the year, which usually just becomes you pick one of those two. We mentioned all the names already for the most part, so it's basically just toss the names out now for all the reasons we've said. I don't know who I'm exactly going to pick for certain people, but there's a part of me that kind of wants to say Britt Baker is the worst female wrestler of the year because of her lack of contribution and just being, if she's in any kind of discussion, she's being talked about in a negative sense. So she's more of a detriment to the company than anything else.
Well, if we're going to play that game, then the worst female of the year is Camille.
Camille was the other one that I had written down.
Of the people that have actually shown up, it's hard to say a worst because, Callum will make an argument for Julia Hart or something, but I haven't had a vitriol get this person off my screen. So I'll just say Camille because I can't believe she hasn't come back yet.
I didn't want to go with either of the ones that just haven't had any, because they haven't had any. Basically, 2025 didn't exist for them, and so it's like I can't criticize them for not being booked. Because even if they are available, then Tony Khan is just choosing not to book them, or they're choosing not to appear. And either way, it's like, okay, you had no influence on this year whatsoever. So I'm only sticking with people that did appear in some form or fashion, and I had 5 potential ones written down. And this is, again, it's not necessarily saying I'll get off my screen. It's just saying these are the people that I thought had the worst year, and that would be I have Thunder Rosa, Anna Jay, Julia Hart, Saraya, and Layla Gray.
I have to ask again: was Saraya on TV this year?
She was for the very early part of this year. So she won't get it because her impact was minimal at best. But so I'm probably going to go with Thunder Rosa potentially for the drop down, just because where she was only a couple of years ago to where she is now, and just how much of a decline it's been. But I think I'll go with Anna Jay still. I just believe that she hasn't elevated herself in any way since her debut many years ago. Realistically, she's not much better on the microphone. She's not significantly better in the ring. So it just feels like you're just spinning the wheels with her, and she doesn't wrestle enough to really even get any better. I think I was looking like she's had, in her entire time in AEW, she's had as many matches as Megan Bain has had in the last 2 years. Across all promotions, it's like, yeah, of course she's not getting any better. She doesn't wrestle.
Is she your worst overall wrestler of the year pick?
No.
Yeah, we'll come back to
that. What about worst male of the year?
Okay, so
the number 3 entrant. I'll go first here. The number 3 entrant in the 2026 Royal Rumble, Chris Jericho.
You're thinking number 3?
I'm thinking number 3 because I think if you enter him at number 3, it gives you the chance to show the actual countdown clock on the screen and then transition right into the Y2J countdown. Like that AJ Styles entrance.
Oh, so they pan away and don't show Jericho?
Yeah, hopefully without that. Look, Chris Jericho was the face of this company, and I understand it. I understand everybody's eagerness to get rid of Jericho. I don't agree with it not coming with any fanfare whatsoever. I don't. I know that in the past, Callum has even said like he did lose to Bandito and then he left. No, he could have came back. He could have put over Hangman Page, done something, do something. Like you were a big part of this company, and this is a huge flaw I think this company has is when they're done with somebody, they kind of just fuck off for like a long period of time. Whether it's the Lucha Bros or fucking Private Party potentially, they everybody just like completely just disappears from TV for a while. The reason Jericho's the worst is just because like man, this company was almost a large chunk of your legacy, and now it just feels like, yeah, fuck off, old man, go back to the retirement home. And I think that that's a shitty way for Jericho to go out. And I haven't liked any of his stuff that he did this year, regardless. So he's my worst.
He's definitely a big contender. Again, I have like 6 people put down for this one. Anthony Bowens, for the reasons I said, for the like being kind of like the pivotal part of the Acclaim storyline, his terrible babyface run, and at least Max Caster, as much as I don't think that he's had a great year either, at least he got over with his gimmick. Hook, because I just think that like we're kind of done and dusted with him a little bit, and this is he's in the last chance saloon with this Ops run. Jeff Jarrett for the stuff earlier in the year as well, and that just being kind of the end of his run as well. Jack Jameson for always being just a negative. It's hard to say this one as well with Billy Gunn, because he was there and he was doing stuff with Anthony Bowens, but it's like, and again, it's a lot of like just old guys. Some of these ones are just like old guys who are just hanging around for way too long and just like, let's just move on already. But I probably am going to echo Rob's one with Jericho, just because it's just so sad the way that it's all ended, really. Like, for the guy that is your first world champion, the guy that added so much credibility to the company, and yeah, he had his rough moments throughout all the time as well, but he had great moments as well, and was such a big part of the company's fabric. Just to not have a send off the likes of Sting or a lot of other people that have left like big companies over the years, didn't get just one final moment to not just like salvage his run, but just to put a nice little bow on the end of his AEW career. It could have just been an episode of Dynamite. He just comes out of nowhere and he challenges Hangman Page, and then in the like end to the night where it's like, I'm so desperate, I need to win this world title. I know you can't beat me because I beat you the first time, and you've never beaten me ever since. I want this world title match. And Hangman Page agrees, and it's like, title's on the line, but you have to put your career on the line, and he loses and gets dragged out of the building, kicking and screaming, and that just feels like, okay, that's like a big way to end, rather than just, hitting a load of boxes on your way out with your baseball bat, and just getting in a car and driving off and never to be seen again. Just a real sick way to end what is kind of your first real legend and star of your promotion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, there's parts of this that I'm gonna put on. I don't know if I want to say specifically Tony, but whoever's largely in charge of booking. So I guess Tony. Like,
for a second there, I thought you meant me. I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck I do?
He needs to. He should have been like, no, you're gonna come back and do something. The fact that, for whatever you want to say about the circumstances surrounding his exit, the fact that CM Punk had a more nice ending to his AEW career, which is just like, hey, I fucking beat Samoa Joe and I wrestled like one of my greatest rivals and that was my exit. You know,
And I was holding a championship at the time and claiming I'm the real champion, and
wrestling on a WrestleMania final match on the biggest wrestling show that's been for like decades.
Right, like I got to wrestle in Wembley against one of my greatest rivals. You know, I was technically claiming to be the real world champion, technically defended the belt in the match, I think. The fact that he got a better exit than Jericho, and again, I understand that the reasons people don't like Jericho and they're happy to see the back of him, but you should have done more.
Also, I'm totally down to give a negative award to somebody who supports Trump.
More on that in the WWE awards.
Yeah, I think you'll struggle to find anybody that isn't going to win that award.
Mick Foley won't.
Yeah.
Mick Foley's a perpetual great human being.
Mick Foley somehow won Superstar of the Year in 2025.
Dane had vested me. Oh, is he your favorite of all time now? I'm like, he's always in the top 5. He gets some bonus points now.
But by proxy, it means like worst wrestler of the year for me is Chris Jericho as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I had tossed out there as options. You know, you got to throw out like an Aaron Solo and those kind of people and be like, realistically, yeah, if I was watching ROH and I was doing this and I was paying attention to all these people, I probably would be like, the worst wrestler of the year was this Yahoo that popped up when fucking lost whatever. Or, this Satnam saying if I would have watched the one match or something where, man, the disappointing performances of Roosh or I don't know.
Brian Cage was around this.
Brian Cage was like a bust, I don't know if Paul White did anything. Like, I could toss out those names or whatever. I could throw Bear Boulder in there for the fact that he just completely ruined his whole career by being an asshole.
You'd find a way to mention the Rizzler.
I did have them down. But it's like, I can't say Rizzler's the worst wrestler. He's not a wrestler. But,
no, he's a Rizzler.
And like Big Justice is like, yeah, okay, he's a kid and he did a diamond cutter. Okay, whatever. I'm not gonna, it's just a perpetual joke that at the end of the year awards, I end up saying some kind of the hell with that kid thing. One of the running gags for 16 years of this fucking website. And you mentioned Ned Fulmer popping up there. I didn't know that, so that's like, ew. Why are you putting him on the show? But
try.
It's between Jeff Jarrett and Chris Jericho to me. Of just like, it's one thing for somebody to be a nobody and for them to suck. I don't really care if Michael Nakazawa had a match this year or whatever, some indie guy that they brought in to be a jobber. But when you're Chris Jericho and Jeff Jarrett, either you should have gotten out of the game already, or you should be thankful that you can still go and do what you're doing and actually put in the effort and try. And if they are, it's not coming across well. So it's either trying and failing or not trying. And either way, it's not good. Two absolute legends and their year, which could be, their last or, essentially their last if it's like Jericho is gone and Jarrett's sticking around but not wrestling or something, are just complete busts. So you get those worst categories on my end too. And then on the positives, best male, female overall, you got a lot of options for the people we talked about before. You could say Athena, you could say Toni Storm, you could say Mercedes Moné, you could say Willow Nightingale or Chris Statlander or Adam Page or Bandito or Fletcher or Ospreay or whoever, Moxley, you might say. He's not on my pick, but somebody out there is going, you guys haven't mentioned Josh Woods. It's like, yeah, I know.
Cool. But Josh Woods listens to this.
Just a random person that popped up in my mind. Everybody's got their own favorites and stuff. This isn't like a definitive thing or whatever. If your favorite is Brody King, awesome. If your favorite's Carly Bravo, awesome. Whatever. But I'd say my best female performer this year, I'd probably say as much as I don't want to admit it because I'm not a big fan of the aesthetics, it's probably Tony Storm. And then I'd probably go male would be either between Paige, Bandito, or Fletcher. I'm not sure which way I'm leaning, but it probably just would go with the obvious thing and just go Adam Page. And then I'd probably give him Wrestler of the Year.
For my top Woman of the Year, it's Mercedes. For, as I mentioned in the previous recording, this is the year she fulfilled like her destiny outside of WWE, and it was so heartwarming for me to see. For best male performer of the year, it's different than Wrestler of the Year. But it's Adam Page, because Ospreay might just be the best bell to bell, but Adam Page is the best male face of this company. So I would say him, and then I'd say him as the overall best for the year for this company.
Yeah, I'd say that the best woman of the year, women's wrestler of the year, I think it has to be Toni Storm. I think she was involved in the biggest feuds throughout the year for the women's side of things, with the Mariah May stuff that kicked off the year with that awesome, well, two awesome matches technically, with the Australia one as well. And then defending it against a variety of opponents from Megan Bain, Mina Shirakawa, Athena, Mercedes Moné, just having very good to great matches with all of them, and then relinquishing it, putting over Chris Statlander all the way through, and then entering this tag tournament as well, which wasn't like her finest work, but I think she's hit a good gimmick and one that the crowd gets on board with, her and Mina Shirakawa. I was close between her and Statlander and Mercedes and Athena, but I think you have to go with Toni for the work that she puts in and the connection that she has with the audience. Men's wrestler, obviously loads of great choices mentioned. I want to give a big shout out to Bandito, because I thought he had an absolutely like banner year, like a real one, which feels like, okay, this is a guy they could push towards the real main event next year. Will Ospreay had did some great stuff while he was here. Same with Swerve, and like guys that are a bit more under the radar, that are like Fletcher and Briscoe and Darby Allin. But it would come down between Page and Moxley. But I think because you guys have gone with Page, I have to go with Jon Moxley. Moxley was, as great as Hangman Page's rise was, you need the great villain to be the one that the hero rises up against. And I think Moxley, the Death Rider stuff started off pretty low ebb this year, but I think it just pretty much from the real low point, which was the Revolution main event, it just grew and grew and grew. From the matches with Samoa Joe in the steel cage match, doing stuff with Swerve, and then building all the way up to the match with Hangman and the great work that he was doing both on the mic and in the ring in the build up to that. But then from losing the title as well, now going on this really interesting arc of like not winning that much and losing to the likes of Allen and O'Reilly, and just showing a bit of like vulnerability, but still having to demonstrate that overall confidence, but still having great matches as well in between it as part of the Continental Classic. And yeah, I just think that Moxley demonstrated that even though Hangman Page is like the main character of the whole promotion, Jon Moxley has and always will be AEW's ace. And he's the wrestler of the year as well.
Also, it's spoilers for us at the moment, but by the time that this is going to be posted, this will already have aired, especially because it's going to air in the next couple hours. The two that are the finalists for the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal are Ricochet and Bandito.
Mm.
So
Ricochet could work with that. Could work.
Ricochet's going to win it. Really.
And apparently MJF returned and used his contract. He's going to be in the title match at World's End.
It's just a 4-way. And I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm a little confused about where they're going to go in this direction now, because it's like, oh, is this going to turn into like, and we're going to get MJF versus Bandito at Maximum Carnage, and this is going to be a whole switch up of that thing. I don't know. We're going to get Ricochet versus Samoa Joe or Paige, Swerve. I don't know, but shout out to those guys for winning some extra things. Obviously, if we would have done these awards at the end of the year, that could have been a factor in, that's the difference between recording before some episodes have aired. I don't think that would make that big of a difference where people would be like, and you know what, now I definitively am going Bandito as the best of the year or something, but it could be. And to each their own. He's a major candidate for that. That's our AEW awards. As far as the 17th of December, again, keep in mind, maybe some stuff airs that we end up going, oh, that was actually the best match of the year, and it was on the last episode of Collision or something.
It was on World's End, so
right.
Sorry.
Yeah. World's End doesn't get factored in. That's because Tony Khan decides to do it at the last 27th to the 30th of the end of the year. The setup that we got going on right now, of course, let us know what you think. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What did we forget about? And if there is something that comes up at the end of the year that we end up going retroactively, I think I would have picked that. There's the worst botch happens or something. Then we could always just talk about it on the hot tags or something. But overall, if we're a yearly kind of breakdown of AEW, this wasn't my favorite year. It wasn't my least favorite year. This had a fair share of highs and lows. It's at a point where I am burned out in pro wrestling in general, so I watched as little as I needed to across both companies. But I would say that this was about, if I'm going to give it like a grade, I'd say it's like a B year for the most part.
Yeah, this was a solid B+ year for me. I think across the board, and if you've listened to the WWE Awards, you've already heard me say this. This feels like the year where the boom is no longer there.
It's big boom, AJ.
Damn it! Shut up. And and I just feel like AEW no longer has the boost of being the new company. I think WWE lost the boost of Vince is gone. Yeah, new era. I think this was the year where they just had to, kind of work with the audience they had and work with, what was there. And I still thought it was a solid year for AEW, but it's definitely not my favorite.
No, I would say I don't think it was the greatest year they ever had, but I think it was a very important bounce back year for AEW. Because there was a lot of negativity swirling around like 2023, 2024. Those 2 years were just not anywhere near their peaks. But I think this year they started to feel a lot more like, everyone always looks back at the heydays of like 2021 in particular. But I think this is the year they've come close to it since 2021. So I feel like both with like the rise of Hangman, the Death Rider story, they've got a lot of great wrestlers in good positions now, and they're building towards the future with guys like Ospreay and Fletcher and other guys and girls coming through as well. Tony might disagree, but I think the women's division really stepped up this year and feels like a bigger part of the promotion than it ever has done. So I think that there's a lot of positives to take away. Obviously, there were negatives as well. I don't think they really capitalised on the success of All In. There is still a serious issue that they have with selling tickets and just building buzz. So they need to work on that. They need to find what the next big story, the next big person that's going to be leading the charge for them. But I feel like they have a lot of like good pieces in places, and I feel like I think for the first time since like since that 2021 heyday, this is probably just from a creative and vibe standpoint. This feels like the first year that overall they've done better than WWE, because WWE were like still bouncing off the stuff with like the Bloodline and that wave of momentum that's surrounding them. I think this is the first year in a while where it's kind of like, okay, people are kind of sick of what WWE are doing and what they stand for, and AEW starting to feel like it's getting a bit of momentum back, but they're certainly not all the way there yet. But very solid year for the company overall.
Yeah, I think a good way to put it is, from my perspective and from some other people's perspective that I know that are more on the WWE side of things, WWE botched a lot of this year. AEW didn't win people over, but they didn't lose anybody, and that they made more ground than they did in the past couple of years, whereas WWE lost ground. And I wouldn't consider that like a win, and be like, we didn't fail as much as the other company did, and we took a couple steps, but we could do better. I don't consider like a major boost, but at the same time, it's better off than what they had been for a little while there. And it could be another one of those years that we had where it was like the CM Punk year where we're just like, man, is this company going to exist anymore? And it's like, no, okay, they're working their way towards whatever. Who knows what 2026 has in store? Maybe it's going to be the best year. Maybe it's going to end up being an absolute travesty. But same for WWE too. We got all those WWE ones to get into as well. So, stay tuned for the next portions of the Smark Out Moment End of the Year Awards. But at least as far as the AEW Smarkies are concerned, that is our best and worst breakdown. And thank you for leaving your comments in advance and everything else like that. Make sure that you check out the Discord channel as always. Make sure that you hit up the different things on YouTube that you should do to show your support. Make sure that you're subscribed. Hit the like button. Get your email alert set up with the notification bell. Join the YouTube channel membership and the Patreon and pick up some merchandise on Redbubble and TeePublic. And also check out everything on amangotree.com if you want to find the link tree list of everything that I got going on. Follow Rob and Callum too.
Yep. Follow me over at DeFelice and, just go back and listen to everything else we've done this year.
Everything else. Each one of those go into
literally everything else.
Yeah. Start now. It's going to take you a while.
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Weekmaster14. Check out the power rankings every Saturday over on smarkoutmoment.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And while you're over there, head on over to the Fantasy League, see how our teams are chugging along as we head towards the end of the year, and the next big thing, of course, being the Royal Rumble. So follow all that stuff along at www.fantasyleague.com or find it through Smark Out Moment.
So parts 1, 2, and 3 down of the 2025 End of the Year Awards, which means the WWE section is coming up next. We are actually going to let you know about behind the scenes things, record the Superstar Scores John Cena next instead of the WWE thing. So you're going to be actually able to hear that before any of the AEW stuff, because I'll post that pretty much right when we're done and roll along here. Probably another episode of the Hot Tags before you're listening to this too. I'm not entirely sure. So whatever happened on that show after the 17th, we got a lot to talk about with the Austin Theory and the Masked Man and some different things like that. So stay tuned. Always more podcasts coming your way. So thank you for your support and we will see you next time. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment and we are being counted out.